I'm the long-lost daughter of a wealthy family, but I was raised by a mob boss. Growing up, I slept with a gun under my pillow, while Chloe, the girl who took my place, slept clutching a teddy bear. I could think of 800 ways to get rid of her without anyone ever knowing. But the first night I was at the Lin family's house, Chloe came pattering into my room and stuck her doll right between us. "Sweetie, can't you sleep? Don't be scared, I'll stay with you." I froze. The gun under my pillow suddenly felt like a joke. I only agreed to go back to the Lin family because I had a plan. Have a showdown with the vicious, scheming fake daughter and my clueless, biased parents take over the family fortune while I was at it, and use it to expand the criminal empire of my doting mob boss dad. That's how all the novels go, right? The sweet, naive real daughter comes home only to be framed and bullied, while the whole family sides with the fake one. The story always ends with the real daughter getting a terminal illness, which finally makes the brilliant family see the light and come to her grave, weeping with regret. Reading one of those can give you a heart attack. If that kind of cliché happened to me, the story wouldn't make it past the first page. The second the fake daughter started drama and the family defended her, I'd personally send them all on a 24-carat, one-way trip to the afterlife. The end, happy ending. I wouldn't want people like that crying over my grave, it'd be annoying. No, I'd have to be the one to scatter their ashes to feel any real satisfaction. So when the couple claiming to be my biological parents showed up with tears in their eyes, I was only surprised for a moment before I excitedly ran back to pack my bags. By the time I'd lugged 2 giant suitcases into the Lin family's Rolls-Royce Phantom, my new parents still hadn't fully processed what was happening. I smoothly rolled down the window, stuck my head out, and waved at my dumbfounded bodyguard. "Mr. Russo, tell my dad, no wait, tell my dear adoptive father I won't be home for dinner tonight." After relaying the message, I leaned out the window again and looked at the Lins. "Well, let's go, Mom and Dad. Aren't you taking me home?" I was so thrilled I was practically ready to pop a bottle of champagne. My reminder finally jolted them into action, and they scrambled into the car. It didn't look like they were picking up their long-lost daughter. It looked more like I, a helpless young woman, had just kidnapped a wealthy couple. We drove all the way to the Lin family's estate before my biological parents' brains, which had clearly short-circuited, finally rebooted. "Baby," my biological father began, testing the waters. "Yes, that's my actual name. Not a nickname. Baby Shun, and I've never changed it." It's not hard to imagine that a guy who spends his days in gang fights wouldn't be the most cultured. He thought I was a treasure sent from heaven, so with a wave of his hand, he registered my name as Baby Shun. Simple as best. Mr. Lin, a man of higher education, clearly didn't appreciate my dad's minimalist aesthetic. For such a big-shot tycoon, he sounded completely lost and uncertain when he said my name. I sat up straight and gave him a wide, 8-toothed smile. "What is it, Dad?" Here it comes, I thought. He's about to give me the speech about the fake daughter, Chloe, before we go inside. What would he say? "Chloe is about the same age as you. This was our mistake, it has nothing to do with her. From now on, you two will be sisters, so please get along." Or something even more hypocritical, like Chloe has always wanted an older sister. "This is perfect, you two can keep each other company." I was ready to counter every move. Mr. Lin seemed even more nervous than I was. He exchanged several glances with my mother before finally mustering the courage to speak again. "Baby, you've suffered all these years. It's our fault. We didn't take care of you. That was unexpected." I was stunned for a second. In the novels, not a single one of the parents who find their real daughter ever remembers to apologize. "We'll do everything to make it up to you. As you know, our family has a little bit of money. This afternoon, I'll take you to the company and transfer 50% of the shares to you." I was thunderstruck. The company was mine, just like that? What about the epic battle of wits I had planned for the family fortune? My mob boss dad had been tearing his hair out over his business war with the Lins, and here I was, about to acquire their company while he was away on a business trip. I might have to change my last name, though. I wondered if the old man would praise my business savvy or call me an ungrateful brat. As I was weighing my options, my parents did a little tag team routine. My mom took my hand. "Baby." I sat up straight again, looking at her expectantly. My dad was a lost cause, but surely my mom could give me a little drama to sink my teeth into, right? In the novels, it's usually the mom who leads the charge in favoring the fake daughter. Chloe is at home right now, waiting to welcome you. She's been even more excited to meet you than we have these last few days. This opening sounded promising. I perked up my ears. We can afford to raise another child. Mom and Dad love you, and we love Chloe too. I can't lie about that. I pursed my lips and lowered my gaze, using a docile expression to hide the sneer in my eyes. How noble. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too, telling me not to be petty and to just accept Chloe, saying she loved us both. What kind of love is it to make me see the person who stole my life for over a decade every single day? If she was so magnanimous, she could have just bought Chloe an apartment and had her move out. That would have satisfied her maternal guilt and saved me the trouble. But don't you worry. Your dad and I have already transferred a property to Chloe. She's moving out tomorrow. Just as I was getting annoyed, my mother's words took a sharp turn, as if she could read my mind. The sentence stunned me into silence for a full 10 seconds. I shot my eyes up at her, in complete disbelief. This wasn't right. Why was my long-lost daughter's script so different from the ones I'd read? The fake daughter gets sent away at the very beginning? How was I supposed to have my triumphant revenge now? I had a gun in my suitcase. Baby, are you still unhappy? My mother clearly misinterpreted my expression and asked nervously. The house we gave Chloe is very far from here. We promise you'll never have to see her. She just wanted to meet you to apologize in person, my father added, wringing his hands anxiously. If you really don't want to see her, we can send her away before we even bring you inside. My father was a man of action. He was already opening the car door, ready to go pack Chloe up and ship her out. No. I stopped him immediately. It's fine to meet her. She's just a kid. Since she's here, the more the merrier. After some serious persuasion, I finally convinced my father to stand down, winning myself a chance for a face-to-face confrontation with the fake daughter. Mr. and Mrs. Lin each took one of my hands and led me inside. Chloe was waiting anxiously on the living room sofa. The moment the door opened, she jumped up and ran over. Surprisingly, she wasn't dressed to the nines, ready to upstage me, as I had imagined. She was just wearing a simple pajama set, a Winnie the Pooh t-shirt and matching pants. The hem of her shirt was all wrinkled from her nervously tugging on it all day. Bubby. You must be tired from the trip, she chirped, her voice echoing through the house. For the first time in my life, I was actually embarrassed by my own name. I had to resist the urge to clamp my hand over her mouth. Chloe didn't notice, just beamed at me with a mouthful of pearly white teeth. Throughout dinner, she stuck to me like glue, putting food on my plate, peeling shrimp for me, and constantly asking what I liked to eat. I wasn't used to being so close to people, so I subtly tried to scoot my chair away from her. But Chloe, completely oblivious, just scooted right after me. I glared at her. She seemed incapable of registering the threat in my eyes, just tilting her makeup-free face up at me with that same sweet, naive smile. All my strategies for dealing with a two-faced schemer were useless. The entire meal was spent trying to create some distance between us. I ran, she chased. I was trapped. Just as we were about to slide right off the end of the dining table, my father finally cleared his throat loudly. All right, it looks like you're both about done. Baby must be tired after her first day back. Why don't you both head upstairs, wash up, and get some rest? I felt like I'd been granted a pardon. I put down my bowl, mumbled a quick goodnight, and bolted upstairs. Something was wrong. Seriously wrong. Not a single person in this family was following the script. It made me, the one who had come prepared with a million different schemes, look like the fool. Defeated, I washed up and flopped into bed, deciding to write the whole day off as a weird dream. Just before I fell asleep, my phone rang. It was one of the bodyguards. Miss, we've got men stationed around the Lin residence, on call 24/7 to ensure your safety. I knew my dad wouldn't just let me go off with strangers. Of course he had a backup plan. But then, I pictured the highly trained, heavily armed mercenaries surrounding the house. Then I pictured Chloe's goofy, sweet smile. A feeling of utter helplessness washed over me, like punching a pillow. Get lost, all of you. I hung up, annoyed, and burrowed under the covers, trying to numb the day's frustrations with sleep. Just as I was drifting off, I heard a knock on my door. When I didn't answer, there was a pause, and then I heard the doorknob turning. I froze under the covers, my ears perked up, my hand instinctively reaching for the gun under my pillow. It was a habit my dad had instilled in me since I was a kid. I told him I was scared of sleeping alone, and asked if he could buy me a stuffed animal like the ones on TV. Instead, without a word, he handed me an elegant little pistol. Company doesn't solve fear, he'd said. Being able to protect yourself is what really matters. I thought he was right. But on my way upstairs earlier, I had accidentally glanced into Chloe's open room and seen it overflowing with dolls and stuffed animals of all sizes. It's not that I wasn't a little envious. In that split second of distraction, the person had already slipped into my room and was tiptoeing toward my bed. My entire body went rigid. My finger tightened on the trigger. But then something soft and fluffy was tucked into the covers behind me. The empty space at my back was suddenly warm and full. Baby, are you asleep? Chloe whispered. What do you want? I should hate her. She snuck into my room in the middle of the night without permission. My first reaction should have been suspicion, wondering what trick she was trying to pull. But my hand, against my will, loosened its grip on the gun. There was just something about Chloe that didn't set off any of my danger signals. Hearing my voice, Chloe audibly relaxed. She climbed onto the bed, pushed the giant Winnie the Pooh doll she'd brought even further between us, and stole half my blanket as she lay down. Me. I figured you wouldn't be able to sleep. Don't be scared, I'm here with you. Utterly clueless, Chloe stretched her arm over the Pooh bear, barely able to reach my back, and gave it a few gentle, comforting pats. I didn't turn around, my body stiff as a board. I'd always slept alone, and wasn't used to this kind of contact. But I didn't hate it. As if completely unaware of my coldness, Chloe just kept chattering away in a low voice. She told me how Dad and Mom were really good people, what they liked and disliked, and where she had secretly buried little treasures in the garden. She was helping me fit into this unfamiliar home. I started to get drowsy as I listened, vaguely realizing what she was doing. Baby, did you remember all that? Chloe repeated. You have to remember, okay? I'm leaving tomorrow, and if you don't remember, there won't be anyone to teach you. But it's okay, she said, talking to herself. Mom and Dad are very patient. They'll teach you. There was no resentment in her voice about being kicked out, nor did she hide her love for our parents. Nothing was how I'd imagined it. Don't leave, I mumbled, fighting to stay awake. I need a sidekick for school. Then I pulled the covers over my head, shutting out Chloe's string of surprised and delighted really? And finally fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, when they heard my decision, Mr. and Mrs. Lynn stared at each other for a long time. There was no trace of the happiness I'd expected. Instead, they asked me again and again, seriously and cautiously, if I was absolutely sure. It was clear their earlier offer hadn't been an act. They even had Chloe's luggage packed and ready to go. I nodded repeatedly, assuring them I was in my right mind. Thank God Chloe and I had to go to school today, or they probably would have interrogated me all day before finally believing me. Well, in that case, you two must get along. If anything happens, call your mother, Mrs. Lynn instructed, still worried. Chloe, take care of baby. It's her first day at a new school. Don't let anyone bully her, you hear me? Don't worry, Mom. Chloe nodded while spinning around like a top, quickly packing her school bag, backpack, water bottle, nap pillow. After getting her own things ready, Chloe started fussing over me. Baby, do you want to bring some snacks? Should we have the cook deliver your lunch, or will you eat in the cafeteria? What if you're not used to the cafeteria food? She followed me, peppering me with questions. My ears were starting to hurt. I slung my own backpack over my shoulder and made a run for the door. No, I don't need anything. Just leave me alone. Good Lord. 17 years without a mom, and now I suddenly had two. This is what it feels like, it's so loud. It wasn't until I got to school that I realized I'd been preparing for the wrong battlefield. There was no scheming or backstabbing at the Lynn house, But all my frustrated cunning found a perfect outlet at school. The reason was simple. Chloe, a total pushover, had been manipulated for a whole year and didn't even know it. On the way to school, she'd been excitedly telling me all about her best friend, Jenna Chin. Jenna is a really great person. When other people used to bully me, she was the first one to stand up for me. When everyone else was ignoring me, she was the only one who still treated me like her best friend. She even gives me presents. Look, this hair clip and this bow tie, she gave them to me. She wears the same ones. She said we should be best friends forever. She eagerly showed me the clip in her hair and the bow tie on her chest, her eyes sparkling. It was obvious she really loved this so-called friend. I was so tired of her chatter my ears were ringing. Thankfully, the car pulled up to the school gate, putting an end to the assault on my eardrums. 10. The moment we got to the classroom, she ignored my protests and dragged me over to introduce me to her best friend. Baby, I know you and Jenna will be great friends too. I don't, I started to say, trying to shake her off, but she had already spotted Jenna sitting by the window and was waving excitedly. Jenna. The girl looked up at the call. She had a sweet, harmless-looking baby face, with bangs resting neatly on her forehead, the very picture of a model student. She smiled sweetly at Chloe. There didn't seem to be anything wrong with her, but one glance was enough to make me frown. Something about her smile felt off. Her expression was friendly, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. It seemed their relationship wasn't as close as Chloe made it out to be. Chloe, oblivious, just pulled me over. Chloe, who's this? As we got closer, Jenna finally noticed me, sizing me up as she asked. I've always hated being stared at, and my frown deepened. I took an instant dislike to this Jenna. Baby, this is Jenna, my best friend I was telling you about. Jenna, this is Baby. Chloe was the only one of the three of us who was cheerful, starting the introductions. Baby? Who's Baby? The overly intimate name caused a crack in Jenna's carefully constructed mask. No, not that kind of baby. Chloe waved her hands, but she was too flustered to explain properly. Baby Shun. I was getting tired of this. I cut her off and introduced myself. Right. Her name is Baby. Chloe finally got it out, breathing a sigh of relief. Baby is the real daughter of the Lin family. She just came back yesterday, and she'll be going to school with us from now on. She didn't hide a thing. Once again, she shattered my stereotype of the fake daughter, who always tries to conceal the real one's identity. This girl was more than a little clueless. I glanced at Chloe's excited face and made my final judgment. But while Chloe was being completely open, it was clear that not everyone was as innocent as she thought. You mean she's the real Miss Lin? Jenna's face showed surprise. She glanced at me, then stared directly at Chloe. Then who are you? A flash of malicious mockery crossed her eyes. I saw it clearly and narrowed my own. Chloe was completely unprepared for the question, and her face flushed with embarrassment. She wasn't the Lin's biological daughter, and there was still no news of her real parents. She had no answer. Jenna was clearly trying to humiliate her. It was almost time for class, and more students were trickling in. A few gossips were already craning their necks to watch. Jenna took in Chloe's awkward, mortified expression, and the smile on her lips grew stranger, the malice more obvious. So what should I call you from now on? I can't call you Chloe Lin anymore, right? Since your last name isn't Lin. Jenna's voice was sweet, her tone innocently curious. But to me, it was grating. Another word, and I felt like I was going to lose my temper and hit someone. Chloe hung her head, looking like she was about to burst into tears. She's my sister, I said coolly. Chloe looked up at me, stunned. Her eyes were red like a rabbit's, holding back two pools of tears. This pathetic softie. Calling her my sister was an embarrassment to my mob boss dad. I sighed internally, grabbed her wrist, pulled her behind me, and met Jenna's startled gaze. Chloe is my sister. Her last name is Lin. Any more questions? My voice wasn't loud, but the classroom was quiet, and everyone heard me crystal clear. I felt the prying, gossipy stares retract one by one. Only the boy sitting behind Jenna kept staring at me, a playful look in his eyes. I glared back at him. Keep staring and I'll gouge your eyes out. The boy didn't react, just raised an eyebrow and smiled with a hint of surprise. Jenna, on the other hand, pursed her lips in frustration. I casually stuck my hands in my pockets, discreetly fiddling with the butterfly knife inside. I don't have much patience. My dad taught me from a young age not to waste my breath on worthless people. Right now, I was calmly staring at Jenna, mentally calculating how I could cut out her tongue without implicating the Lin family if she said one more disrespectful word. Ugh, that would be tricky. I might even have to ask Dad for help with the cleanup. But Jenna was a master of changing faces. I was just kidding. Chloe is my best friend, you know. In the blink of an eye, she put on a different mask, smiling as she took Chloe's hand, then turning to take mine. I kept a cold expression and didn't take my hands out of my pockets. She didn't seem embarrassed, just smiled, showing 2 dimples. Oh dear, your sister's mad at me. Chloe, hurry up and explain for me. Bah. Chloe started to say my name. Shut up. Go back to your seat and get ready for class. I cut her off and turned to leave. If that simpleton actually opened her mouth to defend Jenna, I couldn't guarantee I wouldn't deck her. 11. I was in a bad mood with Chloe all day. She could tell I was angry about Jenna, but she had no idea why. All she could do was hover around me nervously, from school all the way home. Welcome home, my little princesses. Mrs. Lin greeted us with a smile. Did everything go well today? Are you settling in, baby? What do you 2 want for dinner? I'll have Maria make it. What do you want to eat, baby? Chloe seized the opportunity to talk to me. Maria makes the most amazing squirrel-shaped mandarin fish, and the baked pumpkin with egg is delicious, and the tomato sauce tofu is great too. Not hungry. I'm full of rage, I said, swallowing my saliva to maintain my cool persona. Mrs. Lin looked from Chloe to me, confused. She couldn't understand how her 2 daughters, who had been getting along so well this morning, were already fighting by evening. All talk aside, when dinner was served, I sat down properly at the table. It was only because I didn't want to worry my elders. It had nothing to do with how amazing the food smelled. Chloe ignored my protests and sat right next to me, piling food onto my plate. She snatched the tenderest meat from under the fish's eye and the very center of the baked pumpkin, putting it all in my bowl. Mr. Lin raised his chopsticks several times, only to come up empty. He looked at his usually well-behaved little daughter, then at my overflowing bowl, and sighed, putting his chopsticks down. What happened? Mr. Lin asked. Chloe glanced at me first. I said nothing, taking it as her cue to explain to him what had happened. Mr. Lin, though he sensed his status in the family was in jeopardy, he thought for a moment after hearing the story. Jenna-chan, right? I had a few business dealings with her father. He wasn't very honest, so we stopped working together. While you can't judge a daughter by her father's character, you might want to keep that in mind, Chloe. It never hurts to be cautious. See, listen to that. Finally, some justice. I stuffed a huge mouthful of fish into my mouth and shot Chloe a dirty look. Knowing she was in the wrong, Chloe put another large piece of fish on my plate. My name cleared. I was about to dig in when Mr. Lin's next sentence almost made me choke. Speaking of which, the Chens almost trapped me in a bad deal once, but Vinny Shen gave me a heads up. I sat bolt upright. Vinny Shen, my uncultured dad. I'd almost forgotten about him. But Mr. Lin said Dad had helped him. My dad was that nice? Wasn't he losing sleep trying to figure out how to take over the Lin family's company? So this Vinny Shen, he's a decent guy, huh? I struggled to find the right words, unable to bring myself to call him kind, with a straight face. Just that one time. The old bastard is hell-bent on swallowing our company. Lucky for him, your old man here has plenty of experience, Mr. Lin said, a little indignant. He completely forgot about Jenna and launched into a rant. I don't like making enemies. In business, more friends mean more opportunities. But this Vinny Shen is relentless. He's determined to go head-to-head with me. When he pushed me too far, I looked into his background, but I couldn't find anything useful. Of course you couldn't. If a businessman like you could easily dig up dirt on my dad, he wouldn't have survived this long in his line of work. The man has no weaknesses. I only heard he has a daughter he treasures more than his own eyes. He's protected her so fiercely that no one outside his inner circle has ever even seen her. The eyeball in question guiltily took a sip of soup and immediately hissed, sticking her tongue out. "Did you burn yourself, baby?" Chloe, who had been watching me, quickly offered me a glass of cold water. I had wanted to stay mad a little longer to teach her a lesson, but the stinging pain on my tongue was unbearable. I took the water. Fine, I thought, glancing at her sad puppy dog eyes. I'll let it go. Now that I'm here, I'll make sure that Jenna doesn't pull any more tricks. 12. I never thought Jenna would be stupid enough to try to get me on her side. The next day at lunch, Jenna invited herself to our table. I had a piece of rib in my mouth and was too busy spitting out the bone to tell her to get lost in time. "Baby, I think there might be a misunderstanding between us. Can I talk to you alone for a minute?" she asked sincerely, then glanced at Chloe. Having learned her lesson, Chloe didn't dare agree right away. She chewed on a piece of lettuce and shot me a desperate look. "Eat that too." "No picky eating," I said, pushing my carrots onto her plate. Then I stood up and gestured to Jenna with my chin. "Over there." "But you don't like carrots either, baby." I heard Chloe's quiet protest behind me. I walked away quickly, pretending I hadn't heard. Jenna and I sat down facing each other at a corner table. "Chloe's difficult to get along with, isn't she?" she started, and I raised an eyebrow in surprise. I realized she had misinterpreted my attitude toward Chloe earlier. I decided to stay quiet and see what she was up to. Seeing my silence, Jenna probably thought she was right. Her smile grew even sweeter. "When you stood up for her yesterday, I knew you must have been fooled by her innocent act too." I listened quietly, my eyes drifting over to Chloe, who was eating alone. She was staring at the pile of carrots with a look of deep despair. She tentatively picked one up with her chopsticks and put it in her mouth. The next second, her whole face scrunched up. That idiot. She was hopelessly obedient. If it were me, I would have secretly dumped those carrots long ago. "You just got back to the Lin family, so you probably don't know Chloe that well yet," Jenna continued with her lies. "She's much more manipulative than she looks. She used to intentionally stir up trouble between classmates, and after everyone found out, they all stopped talking to her. I only became her friend because I felt sorry for her being all alone. But then she tried to steal my boyfriend. She started copying everything I wear. You can ask anyone, they all know." I stared at her sincere face, but my mind flashed back to Chloe excitedly showing me her hair clip and bow tie. Jenna is a really great person. When other people used to bully me, she was the first one to stand up for me. When everyone else was ignoring me, she was the only one who still treated me like her best friend. The truth was, Jenna had intentionally smeared Chloe's name to everyone else. And then, after Chloe was isolated, she swooped in to play the role of savior. She even gives me presents. "Look, this hair clip and this bow tie are from her. She wears the same ones. She said we should be best friends forever." The matching best friend gifts had become the very evidence used to slander her. Not far away, Chloe was still obediently eating the carrots she hated, one by one. I pulled my gaze back, looking down as my fingers tapped rhythmically on the table. "You had your life stolen by someone like that for over a decade. Don't you want to teach her a lesson?" Jenna's sweet voice was laced with temptation. I had to admit, she was a master storyteller. Her lies were detailed and logical. Combined with her cute, innocent face and occasional timid act, it was easy to believe her. "But I already told you. Chloe is my sister." I looked up and smiled at her. Jenna, probably thinking she had succeeded again, smiled back brightly. "Get lost," I said, my smile fixed on her face as I uttered the two words. Jenna's smile froze awkwardly on her face. What? Can't you understand plain English?" My smile faded. "Get lost. And stay away from Chloe. If you ever try to pull anything with her again, this warning won't be so simple." In my peripheral vision, I saw that Chloe had finished eating. Not a single carrot was left on her plate. She was sitting there quietly, waiting for me. I got up from the table and walked toward her. After a few steps, I turned back around. "And another thing, keep your dog on a leash. Don't assume everyone's interested in that kind of trash." My gut told me the boyfriend Jenna was talking about was the guy who sat behind her. A shame. He had a nice face, but he was clearly blind. I turned and walked away. I didn't notice that in another corner of the room, the blind guy with the nice face was staring right at me. "Lucas, man, I think she just called you trash," the guy across from him said, taking off his headphones, his face a mask of disbelief. "I'm not deaf," Lucas warned him with a sharp look. "Then why are you smiling?" his friend thought, but shrank back, not daring to say it out loud. 13. "That Jenna girl is bad news. You stay away from her, you hear me?" I warned Chloe, my voice a mix of threats and commands. Chloe didn't understand why, but Chloe listened. For the next few days, she kept her distance from Jenna. When she couldn't shake her, she'd run and find me. I praised her for it and started protecting her even more closely. Jenna couldn't find any openings and backed off for a while. But her revenge came quickly, and it was uglier than I could have imagined. I had expected something cliché, like locking us in a bathroom or getting a few followers to corner us. Even something a little more serious would have been within my expectations. As long as she came at me herself, using her own skills, I would have admitted defeat if I lost. But she played dirty. She hired a few street thugs to corner me and Chloe. Not the wannabe delinquents from school, but real social degenerates, the kind of rats who live in the gutter and leer at girls' skirts. Chloe stood in front of me, shielding me with her body. I gave the thugs a cold glance. Then I looked at Chloe, who was trembling but ready to fight to the death. I reached for the folding knife in my pocket with one hand, and pulled down my mask with the other. I knew my dad's bodyguards were nearby, and once a fight broke out, I probably wouldn't even get a chance to act. But God, I was itching for a fight. Playing the good girl these past few days was messing with my head. "Miss." The lead thug froze the moment I took off my mask, his voice trembling. "Thank God one of you has eyes," I said, surprised for a moment myself, before giving him a gentle smile. I had to admit, I was a little disappointed there wouldn't be a fight. "Miss," Chloe repeated, turning to look at me like a startled rabbit. "He knows you." I shrugged in acknowledgement. Kidnapped but adopted by a mob boss, what can I say? I was born lucky. Chloe was still in shock when the little thug's legs gave out, and he nearly fell to his knees. "Miss, I'm so sorry, we didn't know it was you." His voice was on the verge of tears. "That Chen girl paid us to teach a couple of girls a lesson. We really had no idea it was you." I seem to recall my dad has a rule. No messing with innocent civilians, especially women and children. I interrupted, flicking my knife open. The cold glint of the blade casually lifted his chin. The sharp tip was inches from his throat. He was shaking violently but didn't dare move a muscle. "Don't be scared," I soothed him kindly. "It's not a major offense. The standard punishment is just chopping off a hand." His legs went completely limp, and he collapsed to his knees. With their leader down, the rest of the thugs dropped to their knees in unison. "Miss, please spare us. Help us," he begged, grabbing my pant leg. "If the boss finds out, we're finished." They had broken the rules, and to make it worse, they had targeted me. I didn't have to guess what their fate would be, and it wouldn't be as simple as I'd described. "Bah baby, what's going on?" The situation had completely flipped. Chloe tugged on my sleeve, terrified. Anyone with a brain could guess my identity was tied to some shady business. But Chloe instinctively still trusted me. "Don't be scared," I softened my tone, patting her head comfortingly. "The show's about to begin." 14. I told the thugs not to tip our hand. They were to act like the job was done and arranged to meet Jenna for their payment. Jenna never suspected that the thugs would turn on her, and was easily lured out. I followed them, using a corner as cover to record a crystal-clear video. In the video, egged on by the thugs, Jenna dropped her usual sweet and gentle act. "Those two bitches had it coming," she sneered, her chin held high. "Especially Chloe. Some brat from who knows where. And she has the nerve to go after the guy I like. I already taught her a lesson once. Getting everyone to ignore her wasn't enough, I guess. Let's see if she dares to get near Lucas now." Her words grew uglier and uglier. It was hard to believe such filth was coming out of a 17-year-old girl's mouth. I suppressed my anger, saved all the evidence, and went home without a word. 15. Chloe followed behind me, unusually silent the whole way. "So you've finally seen your best friend's true colors. How does it feel? I asked her bluntly. Chloe didn't cry. She just forced a smile that was uglier than tears. Why? She whispered. I really thought she was my best friend. And I never tried to go after her boyfriend. The only time I ever talked to Lucas was when I covered his cleaning duty for a day. He just said thank you. That's it. I flicked her hard on the forehead, frustrated. Chloe clutched her head, her eyes welling up, whether from Jenna's betrayal or my flick, I couldn't tell. Next time you make friends, open your eyes, I said through gritted teeth. Or better yet, run them by me first so I don't have to clean up your messes later. 16. That night, the real mess cleaner called me. I stared at the caller ID, old man, and waged a silent war with myself before finally accepting the call with a sense of impending doom. Dad, I said, forcing a smile into my voice. You still know I'm your dad? His thunderous roar blasted through the phone and straight into my eardrum. Russo told me everything. What the hell is going on? Crap. I forgot about Mr. Russo, my invisible but ever-present bodyguard. He must have told my dad everything that happened today. Is Mr. Russo my bodyguard or your spy? I protested. It was nothing. I could have handled it myself. Handled it, my ass. Dad roared even louder. If he hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known you were out there forgetting you even have a father. How could I? Dad, you know you're my favorite. I declared righteously. Yeah, cut the crap. My dad can't stand sentimental stuff and immediately changed the subject. What's the deal? I knew that old bastard Chun could only raise a little bastard. Can you handle it yourself, or should I just take out their whole family? No. I quickly stopped him. You just relax. If I can't handle something this small, am I even your daughter? Just so you know, my dad, who had just been shouting, purred instantly appeased. That old fart at the Lynn house is nothing compared to me. When you're done playing around, you get your butt back here. Leo is still waiting to get engaged to you. Hello? Bad signal, Dad, talk to you later. I swiftly hung up. Just hearing Leo Song's name gave me a headache. We grew up together, but while I was the stray my dad picked up, Leo was the bona fide mob prince. When we were kids, he was an idiot and used to chase me around calling me an unwanted stray. I immediately pinned him to the ground and beat the crap out of him. Later, my dad heard about it and stormed over to the Song family's house to demand an explanation. But he didn't end up doing much. When he burst into the Song estate, he found Leo's dad chasing him around the yard with a belt. Mr. Song's belt whistled through the air. I'll teach you to run your mouth, you little punk. I'm gonna kill you today. In the end, it was my dad who couldn't stand to watch anymore and shielded Leo, saving his life. But Mr. Song didn't hold back. 5-year-old Leo spent a month recovering in bed. From then on, we were mortal enemies and fought every time we saw each other. Leo still runs his mouth, a total waste of the refined name his father so carefully chose for him. But he never made fun of my origins again. I'm getting sidetracked. The point is Leo Song and I are like oil and water. We're fundamentally incompatible, and there's no way in hell we're getting married. 17. Jenna had timed her attack with the thugs perfectly. It was right before the Lin family's formal dinner party, where my father was going to publicly announce my identity. As a classmate, Jenna's family had also received an invitation. If her plan had succeeded, Chloe and I would have been in no condition to attend. She could have stayed out of it, feigning concern as a classmate to visit us, and then spread a juicy, exaggerated version of our tragic story. Not only would Chloe and I have been ruined, but the Lin family's stock would have plummeted. The Chens were masters of profiting from others' misfortunes. Her scheme was perfectly calculated. But for all her calculations, she never could have predicted that my years on the streets with my dad had shown me just how twisted people could be. The party went on as scheduled. Jenna arrived in a stunning gown, looking smug and triumphant. And then, when she saw me and Chloe, perfectly unharmed, flanking Mr. Lin on either side, her champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. The jarring sound cut through the soft music, and all eyes turned to her. Jenna, what's wrong? Are you okay? A classmate asked with concern. No, I'm fine. I was just clumsy, Jenna said through clenched teeth, forcing a strained smile to cover up her slip. I stood in the spotlight, and she stood in the shadows, unable to see my face clearly. But I could see every twisted feature of hers perfectly. You'd better hold it together, Jenna, I thought, smiling at her. The main event is still to come. 18. Since it was my welcome home party, I had invited my dad. But he must have still been mad at his ungrateful daughter, because half an hour into the party, there was still no sign of him. Dad didn't come himself, but he sent Leo Song instead. Jenna-chun. Where's Jenna-chun? Leo, dressed to the nines, yelled impatiently in the middle of the dance floor. Whoa, who is that? He's so hot. Is he a celebrity the Lins hired? Does anyone know him? I want to make him a star. He's looking for Jenna? Is he here to confess his love? Jenna is so lucky. She already has Lucas, and now another handsome guy is after her. The whispers spread among the girls, and envious glances were cast in Jenna's direction. Even Chloe let out a little gasp and nudged my shoulder. Baby, look. A hottie. What part of him is hot? The sight of Leo just annoyed me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You like him? Don't say that. Chloe's ears turned red, and she tried to cover my mouth. Over in the center of the crowd, Jenna, who had been fuming moments before, was now blushing. She made her way toward the center, trying to look modest but unable to hide her delight. The champagne stain on her skirt was a bit comical. Hello, can I help you? She asked, holding her skirt, her voice soft and delicate, 10 times sweeter than usual. You're Jenna-chun? Leo scanned her up and down. I knew that look. It was the same one he had when we were kids learning to shoot. He'd aim his Beretta at the target, hitting bullseye after bullseye with that exact expression. Target acquired. Time for the kill shot. Jenna nodded shyly. Having confirmed his target, Leo nodded with satisfaction. Go apologize to Baby Shen. I already have someone I like. Jenna started to reject what she thought was a confession, but halfway through, she realized something was wrong. What did you say? She asked, looking at Leo in disbelief. I'm not repeating myself, Leo said, his playful expression gone. He gestured toward me with a cold look. Jenna's face turned red again, this time clearly from embarrassment and humiliation. Everyone had heard their conversation, and the envious looks had turned to suspicion. Jenna was used to being the center of attention. When had she ever been humiliated like this? She bit her lip and stared at me with resentment, refusing to move. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I apologize? Whoa, lady, you hired thugs to corner her and you're saying you did nothing wrong. Leo blurted out without thinking. Then what do you consider doing something wrong? Murder and arson. The crowd erupted. Mr. and Mrs. Lin, who had just learned what Chloe and I had almost gone through, their faces changed. What is this about? What did you do to my daughters? They demanded, turning on the Chens without even checking with us if it was true. The guests were all prominent people who rarely lost their composure, but now they all stared at the Chun family with shock and disgust. Mr. Chun, a balding man with a beer belly, turned beet red and waved his hands, insisting it was all a misunderstanding. No one believed him. Jenna, furious, shrieked at Leo, "You're lying. What proof do you have?" Leo was speechless. He had only heard the gist of the story from my dad. Proof he didn't have any. He looked past Jenna, his eyes landing on me. Me. This reckless idiot. He should have just stayed home. He's ruined my whole plan. I have proof. With things having come to this, I had no choice but to play the video early. The recording was crystal clear. Jenna's snarling face and venomous voice were on full display for everyone to see. Bitches. They deserved it. Who told her to go after my man? She loves hitting on guys, right? Well, this time she can have her fill. And that baby Shin deserves it even more. Too good to accept my help, always protecting that bitch. Well, then she deserves a taste of what it's like to be violated, too. Jenna scrambled toward me, trying to snatch my phone. No, that's not right. Stop playing it. Her face was pale as she weakly denied it again and again. But the evidence was irrefutable. It was too late to turn off the video. That's horrible. She's so evil. She was just complaining to me the other day about how Chloe is always bullying her. She's such a good actress. Could Chloe even bully someone like her? Come to think of it, when she said Chloe was stirring up trouble, it was just her side of the story. She told me that too. What a liar. I bet the thing about Chloe hitting on her boyfriend wasn't true either. The classmates immediately started whispering among themselves. Many of them brought up Jenna's past attempts to slander Chloe, and when they compared notes, everyone realized Jenna had been lying all along. Public opinion turned on her in an instant. Isolated and defenseless, Jenna finally remembered her so-called boyfriend and looked to the silent Lucas for help. Lucas, say something. Chloe was the one who hit on you first, right? I'm not lying. Lucas, who had been watching from the edge of the dance floor, just smiled. First of all, I never said you were my girlfriend. And second, there's nothing between me and Chloe. The revelation was a bombshell. Even I was shocked. You. Jenna's face was streaked with tears, her mascara running in black rivulets. She looked like a ghost out for revenge. But you gave me milk tea. And you gave me that watch you always wear. The party had turned into a primetime drama, and everyone was holding their breath, waiting for Lucas's response. Lucas squinted, thinking hard. The milk tea was a little winter solstice gift for the whole class. You weren't there, so I just left it on your desk. As for the watch, our desks are probably too close. I must have put it on the wrong one by mistake. I was looking for it for a long time. Since you have it, please return it to me as soon as possible. Each sentence was more brutal than the last. Someone in the crowd couldn't help but laugh out loud. After that, Jenna's reputation was completely ruined. She ran out of the party, covering her face and sobbing. Everyone was buzzing about her bizarre behavior, but my gaze went past the crowd and settled on Lucas. As if sensing my stare, he looked over, raising his glass to me. I gathered my skirt and turned away, pretending I hadn't seen him. Jenna was vicious, but she wasn't that stupid. I had a feeling Lucas's story wasn't entirely true. Whether he was trying to curry favor with the Lins or just enjoyed kicking Jenna while she was down didn't matter. Like I said, not everyone is interested in that kind of trash. 19. The party ended on a high note. We had just gotten home when a loud, frantic knocking echoed from outside. That sounds like a lot of people. You don't think the Chens are here for revenge? Mr. Lin listened for a moment, his face grim, and tried to usher us toward the basement. But the voice that boomed from outside the gate stopped me in my tracks. Baby Shun, you ungrateful brat. Got a new dad and forgot your old one. Get your ass out here. My dad's uniquely powerful and recognizable voice nearly shattered my eardrums. Who is that? Chloe asked, grabbing my hand in fear. Is it someone looking for revenge against you? A misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding, I said, trying to calm them down with a nervous laugh before going to open the door. Outside was a fleet of black Hummers. My dad stood at the front, his face a thundercloud. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought an enemy army had arrived. Vinny Shun. Mr. Lin, who had followed me out, did a double take, then his face contorted with rage. What are you doing at my house in the middle of the night? Don't think I won't call the cops on you. Go ahead, call them. Get the man who raised your precious daughter for 17 years thrown in jail. Let's see if you can sleep at night then. My dad roared back, full of righteous fury. This Mr. Lin was stumped. He looked at me bewildered. Baby, this is... we're all family here. Let's just talk this out calmly, I said, sweating, trying to mediate. Dad, this is my dad. Dad, this is my other dad. This was getting weirder and weirder. Well, you get what you wish for, Leo, who had followed my dad, said, enjoying the show. You've got two dads now, baby. Aren't you happy? Happy my ass. I wanted to fight him right then and there, but my dad, who had been so aggressive just a moment ago, waved a dismissive hand. Forget it. Since you're my daughter's father, I'll lay off your company. All this is for my daughter. Your little household had better not be mistreating her, he said, beckoning with his hand. A line of identical-looking bodyguards in black suits hopped out of the Hummers, opened the trunks, and started hauling things into the house. Mr. Lin was a man of culture, and had never seen such a crude display. He stood there, stunned, for a good while before starting to yell again. Who are you looking down on, Shin? She's my daughter. You think I'd let her suffer? Who knows? My dad retorted, then glanced at Chloe, who had crept up behind me at some point. Look at this poor girl. She's been in your house for over a decade, and she's still so frail. That's just Chloe's seizure. It's called being ladylike. Ladylike, my foot. Get out of the way, you're blocking the merchandise. My dad then hoisted a box onto his own shoulder and marched into the house like a conquering hero. He paused as he passed Chloe. I could feel her shrink behind me, clutching my clothes. Kid, he said, freeing one hand to pat his chest. Since you're my daughter's sister, you're my daughter too from now on. I'll send over some supplements for you tomorrow. Look how skinny you are. It's a crime. He let out a dramatic sigh and rushed inside with the box. Mr. Lin, fuming, chased after him, arguing the whole way. False alarm, Mrs. Lin, who had seen it all, said with a gentle smile. Come on, let's all go inside and rest. I nodded and started walking back with Chloe, but after a few steps, I heard footsteps following us. Why are you following us? Go home. I turned and snapped at Leo, who had followed us inside. We're all family. Let's just talk this out calmly, he said, shamelessly following us, a roguish grin on his handsome face. I squinted at him suspiciously. I had a feeling he was up to no good. I'm warning you, don't even think about hitting on our Chloe. Baby, what are you saying? Chloe's face turned bright red, and she tugged desperately at my shirt. I'd seen it coming. From the moment Leo had caught a glimpse of Chloe at the party, he hadn't been able to look away. He had only come to the party to make an appearance for my dad. There was no way in hell he'd voluntarily come over to help deliver presents. I'd be lucky if he didn't try to poison my food. So what? Leo rubbed his nose, the tips of his ears turning red, but he was still stubborn. Chloe hasn't said anything. It's none of your business. Chloe listens to me. You'd better treat me with some respect, I said, shielding her and rolling my eyes at him. Come on, Leo's voice softened. I want to ask Chloe to a movie tomorrow. He glanced over at her. Chloe didn't answer, just bit her lip and looked at me, her eyes full of hope. Like a little kid waiting for candy. I opened my mouth to give my opinion, but I was interrupted by my dad's booming voice from inside, clashing with Mr. Lin's reasoned arguments. This house is too small. There's no room for a few boxes. A few boxes? You're moving a whole department store into my house. Seriously. My life, now responsible for the old folks and the young ones. The end.